Christopher Spera, and this is the iTechGear Weekly, episode number 81. It's more than just a pretty face. Recorded live Sunday, March 10th, live from iTechGear Central. As I said, I am Christopher Spera, the editor-in-chief. Joining us today, a little light. We are without the dulcet tones of one Mr. Chris Gavula. He's under the weather again, unfortunately, and not feeling up to it. So we will wish him a speedy recovery and some rest and relaxation. But we've got Brother Joe McLaughlin. How are you, sir?
Oh, I'm doing well. Had an excellent day at church and just woke up and I'm like, what's this white crap flying? Because we had a little bit of flurry activity, nothing on the ground, but
Nice.
it got cold again. So it'll go away. You know, if you don't like the weather in Ohio, wait 5 minutes, it'll change.
Sure. Contributing editor over here at iTechGear.org, former contributing writer at Gear Diary, and currently the host of the Linux Link Tech Show and living in the Retro Arcade podcast. We get either of those this week? Joel?
I'm sorry. Oh no, we did not. We did not get a Retro Arcade show this week.
Okay.
But hopefully next week. We'll see. With my degree, my class happening now, it's a busy time. So
gotcha.
Hopefully I'll get one out next week. No promises though.
Cool. Yep. Cool. And also, last but certainly never, ever least, the former co-owner of WUGNET Publications, Dr. Mr. Larry McJunkin. How are you, sir?
I am suffering from the same cold weather that Joel is. We fortunately we didn't get any snow, but we had a lot of wind and mid 30s. If we had rain in the future, I'm sure, or in the air, I'm sure it would have been snow. But
sure,
nonetheless, we survived. It's just it's a funny season. I mean, we go from 70 to 30 to 70 to 30.
I don't like March because it does that.
I know, and this year it seems to be worse.
Yeah. I don't like March when it does that for two reasons. One, it wreaks havoc with my sinuses, you know?
Yep.
Starts that old faucet to dripping, and then I get something deep and, nasty in my chest. And then, of course, there's always the tornadoes.
All of our pear trees were in full bloom, and now it's like 35 degrees today.
Yeah. Yeah, we had that one bout that we had where everybody was like marking themselves safe on Facebook and other social media platforms from all the tornadoes and heavy storms. I think we had like a drop of like a 35 plus degree temperature drop. I mean, it was crazy. When it drops that much, it's going to go ahead and do something. It just makes me nervous. So I thus far have, knock wood, have been able to dodge that bullet. So I am very, very grateful. So
good.
Yeah. But what, speaking of Mac OS Sonoma and the new features that it might have, Larry, you were talking a little bit about those some of this week, and apparently there's some cool stuff.
Well, I don't know how cool it is. I guess that's beauty's in the eye of the beholder and perspective and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Every time Mac OS does an update, I kind of hold my breath and say, well, will it be anything worthwhile, or will there be at least one thing that's decent? They always do the typical security updates and the little things under the hood, but
right.
There were 5 significant user features that they put into 14.4 yesterday or day before. And I don't know, one of them is truly, and I'll save it till almost the last, but it was my favorite by far. But
okay,
the first one, 28 new emojis. To me, that's a little meh. We have about 1 million too many emojis already, but I don't know. I guess if you're into that, Most of the new ones are skin tone modifiers and gender variants, which we seem to need all that to, in 2024. We didn't need it in 2004, but we have to change with the times. So we have them. The second thing affects us in our podcast a little bit. Podcast text can now be read in full. So if you don't want to listen to us babbling, you can just choose to read what we babble about. And this is actually helpful if you're it's helpful for us anyway. If we're searching for a word or a phrase in
Absolutely.
a past podcast, we can click to play from a specific point, and we can now use accessibility features that were there in the operating system, but they weren't part of like podcasts, like text size, larger, smaller, increased contrast, and voiceover. So that's pretty important for us. Business-wise, they added some business updates to messages for business. And they let you get updates that you've opted into, like order status or flight notifications, fraud alerts, or anything that you've opted into from your trusted businesses that you allow in messages.
Nice.
My very, very favorite. Absolutely, I have waited for this forever, and they tried to bring this in a few releases ago, but they bumbled it really badly. Chrome has always allowed you in your favorites bar to have just an icon. And this is cool because we all know what the fave icons are. We know what Gmail looks like. We know what Google Calendar looks like, and whatever, Amazon. Why do I have to have text to go along with it and waste another 2 inches of space on that precious bar?
Yeah.
So now, finally, you can have icons only on the Safari favors bar. Bless you, Tim Cook. Much cleaner, saves a lot of space, and finally catches up with its competition.
There you go. And I bet you it looks real pretty, too.
Oh, yeah.
And from what I understand, Mr. McJunkin, doctor, the M3 MacBook Air is in the house, and it is more than just a pretty thing from what you've been saying.
Well, and one more last thing on Sonoma that I'll mention, though it's not very exciting. Apple added support for multiple timers. Back in 14.2, they added support for the timers, but now they've added a feature where all of the ringtones that are currently available in the OS are available with the multiple timers.
Nice.
If this doesn't make you just jump up and down for joy, well, I don't know. But anyway, back to something a little bit more exciting. Yeah, the M3 MacBook Air is in my house.
Nice.
Yesterday, I contributed to the Tim Cook Retirement Fund, and I got myself a new MacBook Air.
Congratulations.
13. Thank you. I wrestled
and to
a
Tim
lot.
too.
I wrestled a lot with the going back and forth from the 13 to the 15, but I've been quite happy with my 14-inch MacBook Pro from last year. And I'll tell you why in a minute that I kind of downgraded, if you will, in some regards. But the 13.6 inch MacBook Air is really only, a half an inch smaller diagonally than the 14.1 inch MacBook Pro. So really they're the same size. My cases all fit it and all that. And it's not that the MacBook Air itself is revolutionary. It's not. It's just a new iteration of last year's MacBook Air. But something that is revolutionary, though it's shared across other Apple devices, is the new M3 processor. Typically, we tend to think, at least I always have, that going from an M1 to an M2 to an M3 base model is the same. But after actually speaking with an Apple engineer about this, I'm fortunate to have one as a friend, it's not the same thing. And as you said in the show title, it's more than just a pretty face. I'll have an article next week on the site about this. It goes into greater detail, but spoiler as to why I really traded in my 2023 MacBook Pro M2 Pro. 3 things. One, using the MacBook Air versus the old MacBook Pro with my Apple Studio display changes nothing. The ProMotion 120 hertz display rate, they don't come across on
It
either.
doesn't translate.
Doesn't translate anyway. And the XDR capability of the mini LED display in a MacBook Pro, that doesn't translate into the larger screen, or display. This is what a lot of people hammer Apple about. And I'm sure the next version of this thing, which will probably cost as much as a small car, will have that. But right now it doesn't. So really, when that thing is sitting there on a stand on my desk in the clamshell mode, it's no different. But there's a big difference in size and weight of the two machines. I mean, it's literally almost 2 pounds difference. And it's so much thinner. I mean, 0.4 something inches thin, closed. Can you? I mean, that's just insane.
It is.
So,
there's a big difference. I've got the M1 Max, right? I've got the big Mamu on the M1 side, and it's a big, thick laptop.
It's a heavy little honker. Yeah,
it is. It is. And my M2 MacBook Air has. I'm happy and sad about this, right? Because it's effectively got the same, if not more, processing power. All right. Maybe not the graphics cores or as powerful a neural engine as the M2, but the M2 is basically just as powerful. It's got just as much, or if not just a little bit more processing power than my M1 Max. And I just find that amazing. And I'm certain that the M3, your entry-level M3, has just as much, if not more, processing power. The same with the M2 Max, right?
Well, yeah, let me actually, I'm going to touch on that briefly here. And if it interests you, come read the article, because I found it quite interesting, hearing an engineer's perspective on this. The M3 chip, well, first of all, the primary reason that I bought this, for me, it is actually an upgrade. I just don't need the horsepower of an M2 Pro chip. I don't. And there's certain things that an M2 Pro does that it does better than an M3, but very few. And Apple has boldly stated that the basic M3 chip is not only much faster for normal computations like browsing, email, creating documents, blah, 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 just normal, but the new onboard GPU inside that M3 is a huge increase in performance. So it's got an entirely new GPU architecture versus what was in the 1 and the 2 version. In the past, a lot of folks dissed on onboard GPUs, and I was one of them. I always have said, give me a separate GPU because it's just better on all fronts. Now, Apple says you don't need to say that any longer. In fact, you can't. In some cases, they're saying their new GPU architecture includes dynamic caching, which is like a breakthrough feature. And what it does, it optimizes the memory allocation and utilization, so it adapts in real time. If you're doing something that just has a small increase in task demand, it'll just do that. But it'll just ramp right up if you're going to do something like heavy graphics work.
Yeah, right.
And Apple claims, and I know Apple claims a lot, but let's face it, they know their stuff, and they're not going to make these claims if they're not true.
Right.
They say it's very, very beneficial for graphics heavy tasks like video editing, 3D rendering, gaming. It also supports AV1 video decoding, which is something I don't think that the previous 2 versions did that well.
Yeah.
But they say that this is, I don't know.
I was going to say the graphics chips in the M series chips are just on another level when compared to in the Intel. And let's be clear too, the Intel Iris graphics, which is used in many laptops now, it's not the same. It's not on the SoC. They're still separate chips. So technically, they are discrete chips too.
So really, it's just a chip that's sitting there in the same little chunk of whatever.
Right,
instead of being integrated like this one
basically, yes. So you're getting faster connections from between the CPU and the GPU or GPUs, I should say, on the M series chips, and the same thing with the neural engines and stuff that's all built in. Having all of that stuff exist on one piece of silicon is just going to make it faster to begin with.
Sure.
So,
I would agree. That's a good point, Joel.
yep.
But it's kind of funny. I'm like, I know Chris Gavula's a lot about this, and probably you guys
Yep.
too. I really don't care about benchmarks. Don't tell me that. Don't give me like a whole list and litany of BS about this chip's faster than another chip. I want to know what real life feels like between the two chips. So I've had a chance in just 24 hours of trying to set up the new Mac to do one thing on it and turn right over next to it. I got them sitting side by side, and I can take kind of real life. What does it feel like to me? It does feel faster. I don't know if that's a placebo effect of some type, but it does feel faster. So maybe it is. I don't know.
Yeah, I tell you what, really,
I tell you what, though, I will have more information about it. I will have played with it a lot more, and I'll put all this in the upcoming article.
that is awesome. Appreciate that.
Sure.
It just blows my mind that there is that much more in just a one generational jump. There's that much more processing.
And how much more can they do? That's the other thing.
I know. It
Almost scary.
It is. It is almost scary. Are they going to be able to get down to, even smaller process? Will they go two nanometers? Will they go 1 nanometer? Will they go below? Will they go into like micro nanometers, if you will?
Who knows?
Who knows what the technology is going to be able to do. What really bothers me, though, from a consumer perspective, I paid a pretty penny for the M1 Max a few years ago, and it not getting a new Mac anytime soon. But I mean, my goodness, it's I shuddered. I mean, just the regular entry level MacBook Pro at $24.99 is more powerful than the machine, the big Mamu machine that I got on the first original M series.
I don't know if you guys have noticed, but Apple has made some very recent changes to trade-in values. They did it about a week ago, a little less than a week ago, because I had written down what mine was worth, thinking about this while it was still, we knew it was coming. And then when I went ahead and pulled the trigger, it was a case of, well, should I go out and look at Gazelle, and is it worth more? All those other sites. Or should I just let Apple have it because it's an easy solution for trading?
Sure.
And believe it or not, my MacBook Pro from last year with the M2 Pro chip in it went up nearly $400 in trade value.
Wow.
But I have heard that the M2 MacBook Air actually went down when you're trading it, in trade value. So I don't know.
Sure.
It seems, I guess MacBook Airs are maybe a little more in demand for used gear. I don't know. Because the MacBook Air still remains the best selling, or in numbers only.
Sure.
So I don't know.
Sure. I will tell you, though, it is in my opinion now, it is impossible to make a purchase of any of this equipment without trading in something that you've previously purchased.
Well, that's true. You can't just stockpile this stuff at $2,000 or $3,000 a pop.
It's too, the prices have reached a level of altitude that is just too high for most people to meet. If you ain't got nothing to give and trade, you may be on the outside looking in.
If you look back on that very line, look back to what the MacBook Air cost prior to the M1 launching in January or February of 2000. The version of the MacBook Air prior to that, you could buy the base version of that for like about $899 or something.
$900. Yeah.
Not now.
No. Nope. And the M2 Air that I've got great machine. I haul that thing, to a number of different places, and it does an absolutely fabulous job. It truly does. It's got the better processor with half the memory than I have on the M1 Max, and it's faster. It just is. It's a faster machine. The
You
only
know,
thing
the
that it
other thing
doesn't
that I'll
do.
say about the other
Go
thing
ahead.
that I would say about Apple MacBooks of any ilk, if
Yeah.
they're within the last 2 or 3 years, there's just nothing that feels more solid typing on it. It's just a rock. There's no
Yeah.
clatter, there's no junk in that thing. It's all solid
Right.
aluminum. It just feels so good.
Mm-hmm. Very true. Very true. And it's just,
But that said, there are some good Windows boxes out there too.
yeah. Yeah, it's
And we'll talk about that
Yep,
later.
we will. We will. In fact, one of the things that's out there right now that some folks are speculating may actually be a thing. And our buddy and the prognosticator of Mac prognosticators, Mr. Ming Ching Kuo, um, is saying there might be actually a 20-inch foldable MacBook. Yeah, I know. All right,
Sorry,
but
I
but
had to do
but here's
that.
Yeah,
here's the
Joel,
thing.
I'm with you.
Here's the
Why?
thing. He's
Why?
not the only guy saying this. He's the third analyst to say this. All right. Uh so especially industry analyst Ross Young, all right,
Right.
is also saying this, as well as the Korean website, the Elec. All right. And if you've got three respected analysts that are saying this, there may be something to this. All right. Now,
I
this is
don't think
supposed to be
so.
something that should show if it's true.
Right.
And I hear you. I hear you both.
Yep.
All right. If it is something that does happen, it's going to be something that happens in 2027. So there are a few years yet, 3 years or so, before it enters mass production. All right.
I think they're more likely to do something like along the lines of what Asus has done with the ZenBook Duo, or some of the other
Or
ones that they've
Lenovo
done.
and that
Yeah, the
thing that they've
Lenovo
got.
Lenovo
Yeah, that
has
too.
one
Yeah.
that's called the X1 Fold. All right. And the Yoga Book 9i that both Chris Gavula and I have, um, is similar but different in that it is two separate screens with
Right.
with a hardware hinge in between
Yes.
that doubles as a speaker bar, right?
Yep.
This is supposed to be like more along the lines of um, your Samsung Galaxy Fold or your OnePlus Open or some other kind of true foldable device, but yet
Yeah,
at 20 inches diagonal and a full blown laptop.
but
Uh,
where is the keyboard on this supposed new beast? Is it going to be a
Yes, that's
touch
the
keyboard
thing.
like an
it,
iPad keyboard that's
it's
built
well,
into
well,
the
Yes.
it's
screen?
gonna be one of two things. All right, and it could be both depending on how you want to do this. On the Yoga Book 9i, all right, they actually give you a Bluetooth keyboard to go along with it. A
Then
separate.
it's not a laptop.
Right.
No, it didn't. No, it is a laptop. It
No,
is
it
a
isn't. Not
laptop.
if
The
it's got
Yoga
an
Book
external.
9i is a laptop, and you can
Well,
stick you.
not
The
in
thing
that
is
mode,
that you
it's
put
not.
this keyboard is thin enough. You cannot carry the keyboard um, inside the folded laptop, inside the folded screens. All right, but you set it on top of either at the very top, and then there's some stuff on the bottom that appears, or you set it on the bottom, and there's some stuff that appears on the top. All right,
To me, that's a big tablet with an external keyboard.
I
Right.
get you, I get you, or it could be just a soft keyboard. All right, now the Yoga Book 9i has both. All right, I'm pretty certain that the Lenovo X1 Fold um just comes with the soft keyboard. All right. And you provide a wireless keyboard of your own. All right. I'm not sure how this is going to work, whether it will work with Apple Pencil or not, whether it will um, do the whole digital ink thing. I don't know. Unfortunately, the source article that we're citing here from Mac Rumors is really sort of brief and light on the info, other than 3 analysts are saying that it's going to happen and it's supposed to come out in 2027. And it should be the largest laptop at 20.3 inches that the company has produced since the 17-inch MacBook Pro that they discontinued in 2012.
Right.
Chris, I don't know
Yeah.
about you guys, but when it comes to soft keyboards, I'm a good typist. I learned this a long
Yep.
time ago. I've
Yep.
used it all my life. I
Yep.
type probably 80 or 90 words a minute, error free.
Yep.
And I can type about 2 words a minute on an iPad keyboard, soft keyboard. I can't do
It
it.
hurts. You cannot touch
You
type on
can't.
that.
No, there's
You
no place
can't.
for your hand in your palm. There's just
Right.
not there.
Right. It's not there. Now, this just before we get off on some other things, I do want to say that this, according to Ming Chi Kuo, all right, the 20-inch MacBook is Apple's only foldable product with a clear development schedule. All right.
Well, yeah.
Clear development schedule suggesting that the foldable iPhone or iPad are not coming anytime soon, if at all. And we heard that about the folding iPhone earlier, right? They had totally stopped that particular device.
It's going to be a long time, I think, before we see a foldable anything from Apple.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very true.
Because this would also necessitate, depending on how their design is, it would necessitate this being the first MacBook with a touchscreen. Which,
Yeah.
to be
You're not going to
honest,
see that for a long time either.
well, and they're
Yeah.
long past where they really should be looking at that, because how many Windows laptops are come with the touchscreen? Now, I've had
More than a few, though.
two.
Well,
Two
most
of
of them. I mean, most of
Right.
them.
I've
Right.
had 2 of them. The only ones that aren't are usually going to be gaming machines, like the Asus Republic of Gamers laptop that I currently own and use. Or
I didn't use the ones
things like
that I
that.
had. I didn't
Right.
use
That's
them.
exactly right, though, because I still have one of the first ones I actually 1, 2, 3. I actually have 3 laptops that have touchscreens on them. I have my Surface Pro 6. I have a Dell 17-inch Inspiron from way back, and my Lenovo Yokobook 7i, which is also now way back. They all have touchscreens. Apple's they're
If they were going to
way
do it, they
behind.
would have done it. You're right. You're right.
Right.
Yeah,
If they were
that's
really
the
planning
thing.
on doing something with a touchscreen, they would have done it already.
They've even been so bold
They
as to
have.
state
It's called the iPad.
Yeah.
That's
what I'm saying.
exactly right. Yeah, you want to touch something, touch your phone or your iPad.
Touch
Yep.
your iPad. All right.
So-
and understand and realize that they never really intended on.
And they still say that, Chris. They really do. They're saying that the MacBook was meant to be a laptop, not a touch device.
Right. No, I agree. I agree. And this would be a major deviation from their normal accepted philosophy.
Their
So-
demographic studies would have to indicate to them that a huge percentage of people truly wanted that device.
Yep.
And if they were to ask me, I would say no. I bet if they
Right.
were to ask you guys, you'd probably say no. Or maybe.
Right. No, but I will say that it is fairly clear to me. There are a number of external screen manufacturers that are saying, hey, we're compatible. If you want a Mac with a touch screen, get our external portable display.
Yeah.
All right. It's got touch capabilities that you can use with your Mac.
Okay.
All right. Fabulous. And to be fairly honest, I will say I have been working with one manufacturer, and their particular screen, not bad, one that I've had for just a little bit, and they are producing now a application that really sort of touts the features of touch in Mac OS. And it's not bad. Touch in Mac OS is pretty cool, or can be, right?
Hmm.
Can be, depending on what you want to do with it. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But again, what have we been saying about Apple rumors?
Till Tim Cook takes the
Not
stage.
until Tim Cook crosses the stage.
Yeah, absolutely. Ain't
Yep.
nothing until Tim introduces it on stage. So interesting, could be cool, but seeing is believing, at least in this case. You know what else though, unfortunately, is sort of, I mean, Apple, they've had such a hard time the last few weeks.
Yeah, I don't feel too sorry for
No,
them
I
now.
don't. I don't. They're one of the most rich. They're one of the most wealthy companies in the world. And when you
Yeah.
climb that big of a mountain, or when you create that big of a mountain of cash, you know that there's going to be folks that would walking around with their hands out. And Apple again is apparently being sued for its iCloud backup monopoly.
Yeah, I don't know if this is anything much more than the type of action that the EU has been doing lately, or if there's any meat in this. I don't know. Maybe there is. There probably is some substance here, but
Yeah.
from what I have read and what I can just glean on the surface here, obviously that in this month a class action lawsuit was filed that
Right.
supposedly accuses Apple of restricting certain files from being backed up anywhere else. In other words, you can't back them up on Google Drive. You can't back them up here or there on OneDrive or
Sure.
whatever. They must be backed up. It's critical, they say, to back them up on iCloud only. So therefore, they are restricting the backup device, but they're only given users 5 GB. That's all they've ever given users. And that's really not enough. I mean, it's not near enough for pictures and data and desktop and documents.
No, you take any pictures.
All of the apps that have their hooks into iCloud, which is nearly everything you download from the App Store.
Absolutely.
So there may well be, like the article that we looked at in on Tech Radar. We're not lawyers, and we make no claim to be lawyers or scholars on how California.
And we did not stay at the Holiday Inn Express last night either.
Well, we might have done that, but had we done that, we could give you a better perspective. But we didn't. So I don't know. iCloud's got competition in Amazon, Google, Microsoft, and all of these other places have cloud storage, and they're not being sued. But as I was talking to the guys before the show, I think that's because Google, number one, who in the world can sue Google for not giving you enough storage? My God, they give you 15 GB per account, and you can go up and create 20 more Gmail accounts and just give them a funny name, and you've got 15 GB for each one of them.
Yeah, you can. You can, and you can stick a whole bunch of stuff there. What really bothers me
I use it a lot
about this, like you said, Apple only gives you 5 GB of storage.
And they've jacked the price of that up about twice in the last 3 years.
They have, and that's really upsetting. But what even more so than that, they give you, I mean, it's universal. Your iCloud account or your Apple account, your Apple ID, gets 5 GB of free storage, period, when you create your Apple ID. And that's for your Mac, your iPhone, your iPad, whatever. All right. And if you're just your everyday iPhone user, what really bothers me the most about all of this is that, man, you start taking pictures and you live in your device for a month or two, and then you start, hey, I should be backing this thing up. And you haven't bought any additional space, there's absolutely, positively no way you're going to get your phone, just your phone, forget your iPad or your Mac, backed up to iCloud because it's too big. The backup is too big for 5 GB.
Yep. It is. And there's another thing that irks me about Apple's backup attempts. And I bet money if Chris Gavula was with us tonight, he would be saying this, so I'm going to say it for both of us. Apple, as much as we love them, have never got backup, cloud backup right. It's so simple to use OneDrive. It's so simple to use Google Drive.
It is.
But if you go back to go back to 2010, 2011,
Yep.
when they finally killed Mobile Me, what a disaster that was.
Oh,
And
that was a
nobody could
train wreck.
understand it.
Mhm.
It was a train wreck for years. And they said, okay, we're going to fix it. We're going to give you iCloud. And we all looked at iCloud and went, what's fixed? And it's still not fixed.
It's like Mobile Me with a different coat of paint.
Yeah,
There's a little bit more to it now. There's a little bit more.
Well, that's true. No,
but
it does a lot more, and it does a good
does.
job. But it's not easy for Billy Joe Bob, the user out there that doesn't have a technical, background to do some of these things on iCloud.
No,
It
what
just
really
isn't.
bothers me the most is that with your free account, all right, I can't tell you how many times I've gone over to my kids' iPhones when they said, Dad, I've got a problem. Okay, well, we'll reset it. Let's back it up first. And they don't have enough space.
Yep.
Right.
And all I'm wanting to do is just the one individual backup of this one phone that I'm probably never, ever going to use again. And I'll delete it right after the upgrade is done, right after I've reset and restored the phone. But I can't get it. I can't get that update. And I'm like, well, what the hell do I do now? Now I got to go and have this kid delete all of his TikTok videos. He's got to go into or anything that he's physically got stored on the phone, right?
Right.
I've got to go and I got to spend an hour or two screwing around with, well, how much phone storage are you using? What do you got? How can I go ahead and get this down so it's just.
Well, I tell you what iCloud Drive does do right, and you got to give them credit for this.
Sure.
All those things like that sync between your iPad, your iPhone, your Macs, and whatever, all of your Safari settings, all of your email, everything, that all of the apps that work between all those devices, and the way those developers put their little preferences things in there. Like when I just was in the process of setting up this new MacBook Air,
Right.
it was brain dead simple. Every app that I use on this Mac that I'm using in front of me now, my old Mac, it was just there. Everything. Every time I download or install a new app or another version of that app, like say Pixelmator Pro, boom, it's all there. Everything. That part they get right, but it's the other stuff that they don't.
Right.
I don't know.
It just annoys me that in order for me to back up just the phone in the scenario that I'm painting, and it's happened to me more than once, I've got to give Apple 99 cents a month. Hell, for 99 cents a month, Apple, and that gets you what? How many more gigabytes?
Get 50.
50 gigabytes. Dude, if you can give me 50 more gigabytes for $1 a month, why don't I have 50 gigabytes to start?
Right.
It should have the.
I mean,
the
seriously,
thing is,
seriously,
right,
why?
The thing is the basic, the basic level should have enough to back up the lowest end storage iPhone. Period.
Yeah, everything on it, right? Not just few things.
Oh, it just.
And the entry level iPhone comes what with 64 gigs, doesn't it? I think.
I think so.
Or more, maybe 128.
Now.
It's either that or 128. Either way, it's a lot more than 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just bothers me. It bothers me to no end that I've got to give Apple an additional $1 a month in order to keep that backup space available for that phone. Now, there's two schools of thought here. A, Chris, it's just $1. All right. Well, yeah, but how many just $1 are they getting, and how many millions or tens of millions of dollars are they getting worldwide from people just giving them $1?
Yep.
Every month. I mean, that's not right.
Enough to make them a $3 trillion company. That's how many.
I mean, come on, guys. If you need $1 to give me 50 additional gigabytes of space, something's wrong.
Well, they haven't responded yet to this filing. Apple hasn't, so it'll be interesting to see what they say. But it's kind of unlikely. unlikely that they'll be able to convincingly argue that
That it's a
backup data
monopoly, right?
specific, yeah, that it's a monopoly.
Well, the only thing that I would say that is for sure a monopoly is backing up your contact information, your calendar information,
Right,
anything that's
right.
not in image. Anything that's not an image or video, automatically, there's nowhere else but iCloud to back it up at. You can back up, like if I take a picture on my iPhone, it could back up to Google Photos just like that, just like my Android phone does. But I can't. But and that to
And,
that
yeah,
coin,
you're right.
I can't use my iCloud storage on any other devices like my Pixel 6 Pro. I can't use any of my iCloud storage with it either. So
Apple would likely argue there that, well, you can have 15 million contacts in your address book. You can have the same amount of events on your calendar and the
right.
same number of bookmarks in Safari and passwords in your keychain password manager, and they'll all fit in 5 gigs. So we're okay. That's probably what they'll say. But when it
But
comes to pictures and extraneous backups, they'll say, well, that's a different deal. That's you, not us.
well,
Mhm.
good. Well, I was going to say, well, that's true too there, but I'm going to go back and
I mean,
say though that
I'm not on their side with this. I'm just
right.
saying what they would probably say.
Sure.
Right. But here's the other thing to think about too is I know when you experimented with the Pixel 6 Pro and tried to switch to that as your daily
Yep.
driver, you couldn't because you had too much data in Notes and there was no way for you to export it out of
You're
Apple
right. You're
Notes
absolutely
to anything
1000% right.
else. Right.
Right.
So I mean it's all about data portability. Apple surely isn't about that.
But on the
That's
other
very
hand,
true.
when I finally painfully got all that stuff on my Pixel Pro, I mean, Google backed every bit of it up perfectly.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Doesn't matter
And
to
I
them.
had tons of space left over
Yep.
for the cost of nothing.
Yep.
It annoys
I
me.
don't know.
It annoys me beyond I mean, Apple can exist very, very comfortably without those millions or tens of millions of dollars that they get for the additional 50 gigabytes. And it just really it pisses me off. I'm sorry for getting all grumpy, but I mean, come
No.
on. Come on. I've got a 12-year-old in front of me who wants me to fix their phone. Papa, fix my phone. Dad, fix my phone. And I can't do it because they don't have enough space. And so I've got to give Apple an additional $1.
Yep.
That
Yeah, it's
just
crazy.
really annoys me.
Yep.
So I'm sorry. So I'm going to go ahead and just leave that there. I'm going to stick a pin in it. And I'm going to move us to our mobile Linux segment. And I am going to say and move on to something that's a lot happier. The OnePlus Watch 2. It's in the house.
I'm hearing very good things, and I'm excited to hear what you think.
So I will tell you that let me just say it's a journey. Okay? It's a journey with me. Apparently, received it on Friday, unboxed it yesterday. I've got an unboxing video, and I'll have a little bit of a review on the watch go up on the site probably in the next week or so. This it's a 47-inch or 47 millimeter watch, 47 millimeter watch. So it's big face.
Right.
All right. It's bright. It's easy to read. And with their native faces, OnePlus is saying that you can get up to 100 hours of battery life. All right. 100 hours of battery life out of a 500 milliamp hour battery. That's a lot. That's
Yes,
a
it
lot
is.
of time
For a Wear OS
on a
watch.
small
Absolutely.
battery. No, that's a small battery. All right. Especially on something. I mean, for this, their always on display is off. You've got it turned. They've got 3 different power modes that they recommend, and use cases for each. Okay. And they tell you about how much time you would expect on each. If you follow their power sipping, if you will, sort of use case, you'll get the 100 hours. All right. If you configure your watch that way and you set it up exactly as they have prescribed on their specs page, you'll get 100 hours. If you go a little bit more heavy on it, and they've actually spelled out exactly what each mode or use case is, and they tell you how to set for that, you'll get 48 hours worth of battery life.
Hey,
All
Chris,
right.
quick question.
Sure.
On that 100-hour setting where the power
Yep.
sipping mode or whatever it is,
Yep.
are you into total monochrome or
No.
stuff, or you still get a
No,
little
you'll get color faces.
bit of happiness in your
You'll
faces?
get a little bit of happiness in your day. It's not all gray tone or grayscale. All right.
Good.
Even in their super duper power, minimal power use mode, which will provide you up to 12 days of battery life. 12 days. All right.
Wow.
On a single charge. All right. They will go ahead and give you they give you exactly what you need to do in order to configure it. And I'll have each of those in the article that posts on the site, so you can exactly see what you've got to do in order to get this. It's a little bit unrealistic, even with the 48 hours. I think a lot of folks are going to see somewhere between 24 and 36 is what they're going to get. All right. Is what you're realistically going to see, which is still not bad for a smartwatch, a Wear OS smartwatch that uses some, and the faces are not bad. All right. There are a couple things that are missing. And it's noticeable, at least from my perspective. The hardware, really nice. Love the screen. Big, bright, easy to read. Their crown rotates, but it doesn't do anything. So it's unfortunate. That rotating crown should do something, and it doesn't. At least not.
Why didn't they leave it off?
I don't know. I don't know. Their crown rotates, but it doesn't do a thing. I don't even know if there's any circuitry or logic connected to it, or that could be connected to it, that would allow it to scroll something. Don't know. But it's missing that. And then while it will do pulse ox reading, it's an app only. There's no tile for it. I don't understand that. So the Watch One, all right, their original watch was not a Wear OS watch, and from what I understand, it was pretty much a train wreck. All right. My experience thus far with the Watch 2, great. I like it. Great watch. There are some things that are missing. It got an update today. All right, which is not surprising, considering that I know that there were some things that they were wanting to fix, number one, and number two, the Android 14 update for the US started releasing yesterday or the day before, and both Chris and I were able to download and install it. One of the smoothest updates that I've ever seen on any Android device. Same thing with the watch here. There was an update for it, and it is installed. Now we need to take a look and see what changes there may be there. There are noted to be some serious bug fixes. So I am interested to see what those fixes might be, and I'll have some information in the article on that as well. it is a decent watch so far. What I'm seeing though is that I had it tracking my sleep last night. It was 3 hours short in the tracking. I got 7 hours of sleep last night, even with the time change, and it only recorded 4 hours and 23 minutes. So I'm also seeing that some of the health measurement metrics, in reading some additional reviews on the watch that have already been published online, hearing that some of the health metrics as the watch calculates them are either a little light or they're a little heavy. It depends, and it's not consistent. So you could be a little light in the sleep tonight, and then it'll overestimate tomorrow or the next day. The same thing with step counting. Doesn't catch them all today, but it may catch more tomorrow than you actually took. So, and that's, if you're sort of either averaging out and measuring what you usually do and you haven't changed your routine, or if you've got another device that's counting steps along with you on another arm or another device entirely. So we'll see. I think that there are some updates that OnePlus can make, and hopefully they will, to sort of even these things out. But out of the gate, for a company that has never done a Wear OS watch before, they've done a great job so far.
Mm-hmm.
So interesting to see. Very nice, very easy to wear. I need to find a not silicone band for it.
Right. Yeah.
So
that's been my pet peeve about a lot of smartwatches, including my Pixel Watch. In fact, I got my band off of Amazon. I'm still using the one I got back many months ago. And it still looks okay for being like an $8 band, so, and I do generally like it better than the silicone ones, but it'd be interesting to see if anybody ever see that. And that's the other thing too, is OnePlus is not a brand that you see a lot in the United States. It really
not in the
isn't.
States. In India,
No.
it is huge. Oppo is huge.
Oh yeah.
So I'm not sure how many options you're gonna have. So
don't know, but I will. It is a Wear OS watch, so all of my watch faces from the Play Store will work. All of the Facer watch faces will work. There's a couple of other face makers that are out there. I will say this, and I will leave it with this. It was an absolute disaster and train wreck to set up. It took me well over an hour to figure out how to get my OnePlus open to effectively and clearly communicate with the watch. They would not pair. They would see each other, but they would not pair.
Right.
I finally had to turn off every other Bluetooth device that was connected to it.
That's weird.
And how does the non-techie deal with this kind of crap?
This is exactly what I'm saying. This is exactly what I'm saying. I had to turn off every other Bluetooth device that was connected to it. And I had, and that was the only way that it would connect. Because otherwise it would sit there and think about it and think about it and think about it and act like it was going to connect and tell you that it was connected because it would be connected in Bluetooth devices under settings, but it would not, and show you that it was paired there, but it would not, but no programs could connect.
We bash Apple as much as we bash any of the other tech giants, but I'll give them credit. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to set up their gear.
No,
it's just so simple.
It is, and it's very, very disappointing. Although I will say that their setup process was when I finally got it to work, it was very Apple-like. All right. It felt good. Once I figured out, all right, I got to turn off every other watch that's connected. I got to turn off every other speaker. I got to turn off every other gadget and Gujian that's connected.
So it was a Granny Smith Apple, not a Red Delicious.
Right. Yeah. A little sour, a little tart.
A little sour.
Little tart. Wasn't that Fuji apple? It was just a.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, so more to come on the site as things go on. Um, but speaking of some interesting things that are happening with cloud services, as we were talking about in the Apple segment there at the end, apparently Google One is going to start including Fitbit Premium and Nest Aware in
In
Google
the
One.
UK. In the
Well,
UK.
all right. So it starts in the UK.
Oh, but it'll be here eventually
All right,
someday.
Yeah,
it
that's the
will.
thing.
It will.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and let's face it here. See, so I just looked it up on my phone. I have both Fitbit Premium and Google One. My Fitbit Premium is $9.99. Guess how much my Google One is? $9.99. That would save
Yeah.
me $10 a month if they incorporated it into the same thing. And same thing with adding Nest Aware and stuff like that, which I don't have any
Mhm.
Nest products, but that's
I do. Yeah, that's going to help me a lot.
yeah, that's a good deal. And I think it makes sense. It really does make sense that they'd start doing stuff like that because they could really. I mean, Apple doesn't do that.
No,
No.
oddly.
I mean, you pay your iCloud or your Apple One, and you get everything Apple.
Yep.
Period. I mean, that's it. I mean, so Google needs to go that direction. I think this is an important step, even if. But I'm just trying to question why the UK first. But
I think what they're trying to
Test
gauge,
market? I don't know.
maybe they're
yeah,
trying to gauge how well it will go, how
right.
great the adoption is going to be, and since maybe that particular market is real hot to try for
Well,
that. Maybe it's something that
and that's the other thing too, though. I mean, Android is king worldwide. Uh, Not so here.
right.
You know, we count as part of the worldwide, but the most popular phone in the United States is the iPhone. So I mean, same thing
True.
goes with the Apple Watch. So I mean, but that's we'll see how that all shakes out. I kind of hope it does come here because I'd love that. I would definitely do that.
Awesome.
It actually affects me quite a bit because I do use HomeKit for all of my smart home stuff, but nobody, literally no one, makes a really good camera or doorbell or any kind of a camera that works with HomeKit. So at
Mm-hmm.
least natively. So what I do, I use I could use Homebridge but whatever. I use a different solution called Starling Hub. But I have all Google cameras. I have a Google Nest doorbell with its camera, and they integrate just slick as whatever into HomeKit. But I still must have a Nest Aware account for those cameras, or I can't use them in HomeKit Secure Video, which is to me just absolutely mandatory. So, Nest Aware, this will save me about $10 a month too, Joel, and I think it's a great
Yep.
deal.
Yep. I think so too. Now,
Yeah.
next one.
Next, hey,
Moving right on.
apparently everybody here at iTechGear was marked safe in the great Facebook outage of
Oh, thank
Yes.
goodness.
Well,
So,
yes
so
and no. I mean, yeah, I mean,
I didn't even know it happened, I'll be honest.
I think it affected more our families than it did us, probably, because I'm like, and Facebook's down, big deal.
oh my wife was she thought she got hacked.
Well,
She
and let's
thought,
talk about that for a minute. Yeah,
yeah,
because that's how it appeared.
right,
The story I have that we have linked in the show notes is from NBC4, which is the local affiliate here. But there was tons of the stories around there, and
sure,
the way it exhibited itself, at least with Facebook, was it acted like you logged yourself out, even though you didn't.
right,
Okay. And people freaked out about it. I have several friends that posted after the outage happened was, "Oh, I guess it's back, but I'm changing my password and blah blah blah." And I'm like, "Well, you weren't hacked, and Facebook wasn't hacked." And one of the things I think that Facebook needs to do is they need to provide an update about what really happened. They said it was a technical issue. What was the technical issue?
What was the technical
That's
issue?
what I want to know. That's all they said since the outages ended.
Yep.
And also to cover that, what was completely out? Every meta resource. So
yeah,
Facebook, Threads, WhatsApp, the VR,
Oculus.
Oculus. Yes, that was out too. Instagram. All those things are all Facebook resources, and they were all unavailable for about 2 hours.
Most around the country, I guess that they were down for what, just a couple of hours, right? Wasn't it just a couple of hours?
Yep.
But no, there were some folks that I mean, it made the local news here too, and you would think some people didn't exactly know or understand what happened. And I know that there were more than just my wife wondering if if it was just them and had their account been hacked. So
Yep. So I mean, the only thing that Facebook should be more transparent. They were transparent the last time a big outage happened, where they clearly said that whatever change happened affected DNS, and that's what they happened. And the normies would be like, "Oh, okay,"
right.
Us guys would be like, "Oh, okay." Yeah, and we understand those. We understand those things, and we understand those in more detail. The other people, they're like, "Well, why were they down?"
Yeah,
and
DNS,
they don't have
do
to
not stand, do not sit. What
and they need to at least say, well, that's why did they appear to be logged out? Why did that happen? That's probably the big one. Yeah, and then they can follow it up with technical details, and then once the technical details come in, they'll be like, okay,
agreed.
Even if they don't understand it,
right? Right.
And right now they're just like, oh, it was a technical issue, and then now the normal people, they're like, oh, okay, but us tech people are like, wait a minute.
Right. Right. No, we thought it may have been something just a little bit more nefarious, but thankfully it wasn't.
Or doesn't appear to be that we don't.
Yeah. Right. So thankfully over, done with, and gone. Everybody marked safe.
Only Zuck knows.
That's right.
And he ain't telling. So there you go. But what I really like, though, sticking with the Android and Linux and mobile themes, Google Wallet, which basically is on every Android phone everywhere.
Correct.
Right. And on every Wear OS smartwatch, for that matter. It will now show movie tickets and boarding passes that you receive in Gmail, which I think is kind of cool.
Yep. The only exception is the email has to include the QR code for your boarding pass or your movie ticket. So that's actually kind of cool with the QR codes, because they're really starting to gain some footing here, which I never thought that they would, but like there's more people using that than ever.
Right.
And normal people are starting to understand that. So it is a good way to do that. I know that iPhone people absolutely love just flashing their iPhone at the TSA with their ID.
Oh man, I'm telling you, that is a really big deal. Not having to futz around with that little piece of paper because it gets all bent
and you lose it. And leave it on your last flight, and you can't go back on the plane.
Nope.
I mean,
it's a pain in the butt. So having it on your phone, which you ain't gonna lose, or have a larger chance that you ain't gonna lose it, is a lot better. The big thing that I don't like here is that it is only for now. It's only going to be working with Gmail. Movie tickets and boarding passes from Gmail are now surfaced in the Google Wallet when a user buys a ticket and gets a confirmation email in their Gmail. Integration is live for some global movie change and airlines, and we are working to expand this. And that's also awesome. They're working to expand this. I really hope that they go outside of Google services and allow this to happen in any email that is received.
Well,
in
that's
any
not an
service.
easy task. It really isn't. I would say they probably are, Chris. They probably are working on that, but they had to make it work perfectly within Gmail,
I
and
have to
then
think.
they can take it
Yeah,
outside.
Well, I
I
had to
mean, from
think
a
the last time I flew back in September. I'm trying to think. I thought I was able to put my boarding pass on my Google my Pixel 6 Pro, although it really didn't matter to me because um my boarding pass would have came to my work email, which would have went to my iPhone. So I would have had both ways. But I know I've had the boarding pass on both at the same time
sure,
before. So and I think it was just a matter of the airline had a link to do that on the email, and so maybe how Google's doing this, where automatically does it, is it looks for that link and it finds that link and then goes,
sure.
oh, okay, here you go.
Sure.
Well, and that
And
makes
maybe if
sense.
I've got to tap that link, if I'm using Outlook or if I'm using something else, right? Some other
Right.
service or some other email app, I just tap on that link and it brings it up and it calls Wallet and throws it right into Wallet because now
Yep.
it calls it, right? So hopefully it'll do
Hmm.
something like that. Um,
Yep.
Chris, I'm sorry, Joel. Joel mentioned something at the start of this. It's kind of interesting
hmm,
about how QR codes are finally coming of age. I don't know if you
Yeah.
guys even remember, but Toyota invented this, a company that Toyota owned. 1994, they developed the QR code just to track auto parts in their system.
yeah,
And it went on from there, and it went through this long period of existence where we all knew what it was, but nobody used it. And
right.
and as I mean, even like 2 or 3 years ago, it wasn't a big deal. But I got to tell you, nowadays, even the people that I work with and the two nonprofits that I support, both of them are very heavily into donations and whatnot. People of let's say an elderly age, they get this stuff. They'll scan that QR code and donate via PayPal or Venmo or whatever it is, and have no compunctions. They just go right at it. So they are becoming more of use. I agree with you,
Yep.
Joel.
Yeah, my church actually will put um like, hey, you want to contact us? They have a QR code they'll put up on the
Absolutely, yeah.
projectors at the beginning of the service before the service starts, so that you can contact the church for different things.
Yeah, take you
So,
right to their contact page on the website or wherever they
yep,
want it.
yep. Now what I wish they do is well, I'd never take the bulletins anyway anymore, because I'm so much of a part of the service now anyway. Like this morning, I was switching cameras for them. But you know, it's just amazing to me how just people, even my wife knows what to do with a QR code now. So I mean, it's a technology that
Well,
I
it's an
thought would
amazing
never really
thing,
take
though, isn't
off.
it? I mean,
Yeah.
it expanded so rapidly, so quickly.
And
Um,
you know what's even more recent? A
And
lot of
naturally
commercials.
too.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of commercials on TV. And I caught myself the other day, a commercial interested me on something. I wanted more info, and they had a big old QR code up on the screen. I just bang, done. Took a picture. I was done. I got it.
Yep.
So they're very handy.
Nice.
Yep. And
Nice.
that's what they use for this. So
Mhm.
so
Mhm.
you know,
Well, it is kind of cool and it is kind of I hope it's something that gains I hope that Google opens up that API and allows just about everybody to go ahead and use it. It would be something that I know that everyone that uses an Android phone would love to be able to see,
yep,
so that they could have those passes in on their phone easily,
automatically.
automatically, automatically updated. You
Right.
know, because sometimes I'm in the airport and I've got my um pass on my iPhone, and sometimes it gets updated before the board does at the gate that I'm sitting at.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so really
Yeah, you
very
look
nice.
at it and you're like, oh, I got to go three
Oh
more gates down.
crap! Now I got to move again for crying out loud. Uh huh.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
yeah,
I don't
nice.
miss that. I don't miss it a bit.
Well, yeah, I do. I wish I was kind of back flying more, but I got one trip a year, maybe. So the
Not I.
Yeah. So all right. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to take a quick little break here. for a brief message. So everybody stay put. Hi, this is Christopher Spera with iTechGear.org, and I'm here to tell you that iTechGear.org and the iTechGear Weekly are on Patreon. Patreon is a platform for creators, allowing them to express their creative side in an organized, marketable fashion and earn a living or create a really cool kind of side hustle. You can create a community around your hobby of choice. You can gain followers. You can get members and supporters all along the way. You can create subscription products that, for a pledged amount every month, you'll provide to your members and followers. Setup is easy. Prices are reasonable, and you can have your pledges auto deposited into an account of your choice every month. With iTechGear.org, our initial offering is a monthly newsletter for just $3 a month. This is our initial offering, and we'll have other tiers and other products and other offers up in the coming months. Become a patron of our site. Grow with us, and we'll provide you with the tech understanding that you're missing right now. Join us on Patreon at www.patreon.com/iTechGear. That's www.patreon.com/iTechGear. And welcome back to the iTechGear Weekly, episode number 81. It's more than just a pretty face. And I want to take us now and get into our Windows segment. There's some interesting stuff that's going on. Larry, I know that we've all been very interested. Joel, everybody here on the show has a Surface product of some generation.
Or have
Right.
had many.
Or it had, shush.
And have returned one because it didn't work. But that was a fluke. That was a fluke.
It's true. But I will tell you, Microsoft is set to unveil the new Surface 10 Pro and the Surface Laptop 6 and with ARM versions as well, ahead of a Windows 11 AI release that's supposed to come out this spring.
They are. So I think my take on this is, with Apple being on the brink of releasing what will most likely be all new iPads across the board. It's been over 2 years since they've updated them. And their top model being the iPad Pro, having an OLED display. Not to be outdone, Microsoft is going to release their new Surface Pro 10 with, you guessed it, an OLED display.
An anti-reflective
and also a new
display.
laptop 6, but I don't think the laptop 6 will have the OLED, Chris. Did you heard?
I didn't see that. I didn't see that it would.
But it'll make Chris G very happy that they are giving it an ARM version on the laptop side, which
they are.
I think this is hugely significant, because as we watch this big Redmond giant further embrace ARM technology, it's here. I mean, if you're in the Windows world, you need to get on board with ARM, because it's going to happen.
Well, let me just say this. We've said this before, but I want to reiterate this very quickly, because I don't want to steal your thunder, number one, and number two, there's not a lot that's happening with ARM for this particular subject, the Surface 10 Pro and the Laptop 6. While the Intel versions are going to come out in a month or two, I don't think that the ARM versions of either of these machines will be available until June or July of this year. But
you're absolutely right.
Right. But I will say that the Surface Pro 9 5G that both Chris Gavula and I have is one hell of a device. It will run Intel as well as ARM-based software on it. And it's completely transparent to the end user, which I think is an amazing, amazing development. Especially since the Surface RT, which was also an ARM device, completely tanked because it wouldn't do that. Everybody tried to install their Intel software and couldn't get it to work, and nobody understood why. All right. Nobody understood why. And there were a lot of folks that got really, really upset. Why did I buy this device if it won't run the software that I already have? But now the Windows ARM devices will run the Intel stuff. It may be just a tad slower, but these chips are so fast. The new chips that are coming out, that will run ARM. I forget what there's something special about these chips that are coming out that I forget.
Well, even though they might be a tad slower, as you said, the thing that they buy you with all the extra battery life and stuff like that is amazing. Typically Surface events don't get me too excited.
True.
I mean, as Windows, though, I began using Windows with Windows 3.0. It was the first thing I ever did, but it's currently for me basically a secondary operating system. But on the other hand, I'm a huge fan of Surface devices, but it's a love-hate relationship.
It is.
Especially with the Surface laptop. I know there are more, better, capable, and more featureful laptops out there, but there's just something pure about a Surface. When you have the laptop or the tablet in front of you, there's just something about a Surface device that you're on a Surface device. I don't care how old it is, how new it is.
McJunkin. Yeah.
What?
Preach it.
But the problem, this is a double-edged sword for me. The problem with a Surface, not with Surface Pros, but the problem with Surface laptops has always been they have released them with CPUs that are at least one, if not two versions behind the Intel current version. And they're basically underpowered in so many other ways. And I'm just so hopeful that
they're U processors, they're U versions.
Yeah, we got them cheap. We got them on fire sale from Intel, so we're going to put them in your new laptop. So I'm just hopeful that maybe this time the new laptop is going to be on the front end of the hardware curve. Yeah. If they do that, it might be time for me to swap out my 3-year-old ThinkPad for a new Surface. I don't know. We'll see.
Maybe.
But for sure, one thing, there's a couple of things that we know. Microsoft in this event will announce a new Surface Pro and a Surface Pro laptop, or a Surface laptop. They will feature upgraded displays, and they say new processors. They don't say how new, but they will be new, and they will be the company's first AI PCs. So Parent, Read, Copilot, Unparent, I think there. Intel models are going to ship in April. And like you said, the ARM models will likely ship in June. And during this event, you'll see Microsoft share details on Windows 11's upcoming AI features, including a new AI Explorer. So I don't know. If you guys have read anything else other than that, it's probably speculation. That's
the other big thing, the other big point of this particular article from Windows Central that we are citing is that there is a big AI upgrade coming from Microsoft for Windows 11 later this year. It's going to include on-device Copilot functionality. It'll have real-time live captions and translation features, video game upscaling and frame rate smoothing, as well as enhanced Windows Studio effects, and a new feature internally called AI Explorer. And what that does is effectively, it's a new AI experience that will separate AI PCs from non-AI PCs. And that's going to be those that have some level of a neural processing unit on it. These are in a new area of a processor. They're on the Silicon Macs. They're on the ARM processors for sure. I don't know how many other.
So the chips will have some AI on board. That's what you're saying.
Right. Well, they're going to have. They'll have the brain, if you will.
Right.
the
That's what
AI
I'm saying.
brain
Yeah.
on it. All right. And this is going
That'll
to,
make it quicker too. They won't
yeah,
have to go
yeah,
out to get the info to bring it
right.
back
It's all
to
going to be
serve it to
done.
you.
It's supposed to be done on device. All right.
Right.
Which will make it a lot faster and a lot more
Mhm.
convenient to use. And if you, for whatever reason, don't have a internet connection, you may get some level of answer. It won't completely crap out and say, "I'm sorry, I can't answer that question." So,
Well,
which
it's
is
kind
what
of
a
like
lot happens now
when
with
Apple
most
brought
assistants.
Siri on board the M series chip. It took her from really dumb to just dumb.
Yeah, true. Right. So this should be an improvement there with most assistants. Anyway, so there's going to be a new type of computer coming out, a new type of Windows computer called an AI computer, an AI PC. Both of these, the Windows Surface 10 Pro and the Surface Laptop 6 will be AI PCs, and they should provide some interesting new features. There are not a lot of information um, on what this will actually do aside from um, giving you a better, if you will, Copilot or Chat GPT-4 experience on the local machine. So it may also do some graphic stuff, picture-based stuff directly on the machine. So we'll see what happens. All right.
Okay.
And it should all ship with Windows 11 version 24H2 in the fall.
So
So
there you go.
there you go. So yeah. And speaking of Windows, did you know? And I saw this and I was really interested. That it really kind of piqued my interest, and I went, "Wow!" So, did you know that the native zip support that has been around in Windows, I believe going back to like Windows 98, maybe 95, um, actually was a project. Well, it actually to go ahead and get the topic out of here. It bought the engineer this a 1994 C4 Corvette LT1. All right. This guy who was a Microsoft engineer and working at Microsoft went off and um on his own, on his spare time, and completely not using Microsoft resources, developed what we call compressed folder support or the native zip feature in Windows Explorer on his own. Microsoft found out about this and they're like, "Oh, we love this. You have a choice. You can go ahead and get the hell out and you're fired, or we'll buy it for you for some absurd amount of money." And he thought about it long and hard, thought about going out on his own, thought about all the grief he would get from Microsoft, and thought the better of it and took the absurd amount of money and bought himself a brand new C4 Corvette, because this all happened back in like 94 or so.
Yeah,
All
but the
right.
LT1 wasn't cheap.
No, no,
No.
that was a happening machine back in the day. That's not just a regular C4 Corvette. That's a nice one.
Quite a story.
Yeah. But it's really interesting. And what's cool about this is I saw this on Twitter the other day. It tells you David W. Plummer is the guy. All right, it's at Dave PL 1968. Is his handle on X, and he has the whole thing there. Just kind of pulled out for you. It tells you exactly what happened, um, and how he came about it. He doesn't tell you exactly what the absurd amount of money was, and or if he had any left over after he bought the C4 Corvette LT1, but it was enough to buy the C4 Corvette LT1 back in 94 when it was new. So the only bad thing right now is that this particular, you may notice that working with compressed folders, which is what Microsoft calls them, because it really reads that zip file as a native set of folders. The only thing that's bad thing is that code is, all the way back in the day is effectively the same code. They haven't done anything to it. It was single threaded only, as an example. It really didn't do much. It's over 25 years old, and it's in need of some serious updating. I don't know how they're going to do it, though. It doesn't matter how many CPU cores you have, it's only going to use one thread, and it's only going to use one core, and it's slow. So, but it's an interesting history lesson. And it's interesting on how that came to be, because it wasn't something that Microsoft had planned.
It's our little tidbit for tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And unfortunately, from what I hear and understand, another sort of interesting feature is going to be killed out of Windows 11. Microsoft is killing the subsystem for Android in 2025. Joel,
That's what they're saying.
should we cry now or later?
I never used the thing.
And that's what I think. Well, part of the problem with this, there's a couple of things that are going on here. All right.
Right.
Number one, the biggest problem that the subsystem for Android has is the Amazon store.
Right.
It sucks.
Yep.
To put it lightly, it sucks. All right. Microsoft did not go with the Google Play Store. They went with the Amazon store because it was cheaper.
Yeah.
All right. And all of the things that you might want in the Play Store, you can't get. You've got to download and install the Amazon store as part of all of this. And from what I understand, then the other bad part about it is if you've got it installed, you can continue to use it, and it's going to die in 2025. If you ain't got it, you ain't gonna get it.
Right.
Because it's out. It's removed. So if you had it, and you can use it for this year, and then sometime in 2025 it's going to die. All right.
Yeah. Amazon's also, I mean, obviously Amazon's also pulling support for the store too. So
Yeah.
So that's I honestly never used it, although I looked here and I actually do have the Amazon App Store installed on here. But to me it was like, well, why would I use an app when I can use real applications on my laptop? That just never made sense to me. So
Right. So after March 5th of this year, which is this past week, the Amazon App Store will no longer be surfaced from the Microsoft Store. And between now or that time and March 6th, 2025, you'll have the opportunity to continue to use the service. But after that, the subsystem is gone. So
they say.
Okay.
And that, kids, is effectively the show. But wait, there's more.
There's more.
There's more. We are starting a new segment this week, and I'm excited to go ahead and do this first one with my old WUGNET pal, Dr. Mr. Larry McJunkin. And I couldn't help but stop as we were talking about this earlier today through email, and it was a little bit nostalgic for me, and a little bit, it brought a tear to my eye and a smile to my face. I get to pester you for tips. For those that don't know, I wrote.
You get to write a fourth of them too.
Yeah, it's true. That's true. But it's still for those that don't know, one of the things that I did for the Windows Users Group Network for many a year was write a daily tip of the day for Microsoft Windows, Windows Explorer, Microsoft Office, and hardware. And um, there were some really decent tips. And I think I ended up writing somewhere over the course of about, oh, I want to say what, 10, 12 years, something like that, that we were actively doing that stuff. I think I wrote almost 5,000 different tips.
It was a bunch. I lost total track.
Yeah. So
But
lots and
yeah,
lots. But you've got this week's tip of the week.
I do. And to kind of go on with what you said, Chris, we've added this tip segment to our show because each of us and what we do during the other parts of our technology lives during our own days and weeks, we're bombarded with questions from coworkers and friends and family about technology issues. So, in our own ways, we're the resident geek at the office or the house or the family or whatever. And
Right.
I know I've been providing technology and tips or support and tips to folks for probably over 40 years. So,
Yeah.
and I know my co-hosts are not quite as old as me. Thankfully, they're saying, but they've been doing this a whole lot of years too, but all three of them. So we're looking to bring you some short but important, easy to remember tips that you may already know, but probably fail to practice. And we
Right.
hope you'll find them useful. And if you do, if it sparks an idea for something different, something else, send us an email. Will be there's an address for us in the show notes, and we'll make a tip out of it. But
Yep.
the tip tonight, very quickly, is what to do if your phone is stolen. I don't care if it's an Android phone or an iPhone, whatever phone. We all think about buying new phones. We're all excited about them. Then we move from the old phone to the new phone. A lot of times we forget what to do if, in the flash of an eye, your phone is gone. So when you do buy that new phone, the last thing on your mind is that someone might steal it from you. So here are three things that you really need to do immediately if your phone goes missing. And we'll have these on the site too. Number one, freeze any bank accounts that can be accessed from that phone, period. Change the passwords on that account and any other accounts that you foolishly have the same password on that you access through the device. I know that's a lot of work, but it will save your butt and your bank account. Number two, contact your service provider for your phone service and ask them to lock your SIM card. And yes, Virginia, you can lock an eSIM. So you can lock an eSIM or a physical SIM. Just ask them to do it. They will not ask you a question. They will just do it after they authenticate you. And further, if you have an iPhone, you can ask Apple to remotely lock your device. If you log into your iCloud account and simply report it as stolen, just go to, and the website is going to be in the show notes. Go to the website there. It's an Apple support site link, and it'll tell you how to do that, as well as give you some other useful information for regarding a stolen iPhone. That's it. Those three things will save you a lot of pain and misery. That's it.
Yeah. And that's some important things to do. And I don't think most folks would ever really think to, I need to do those kinds of things, especially
Yeah,
if the
we're all
phone's stolen.
freaking because
Yeah.
our phone's gone.
Your phone's gone. What the heck do I do now? Yeah.
Yeah, the first thing you want to do is run up to Find My and try and find it, but that's not the first thing you need to
No, it's
do.
not the first thing that you should do. There are other things, and I'm glad that you brought this
Eventually,
up.
yes.
Yes, and we will have this on the site hopefully sometime this week, if not the week after, and we will start posting these after we talk to them every week. So there you go. I also now want to go ahead and move us to our pick of the week segment. And I also want to go ahead and make sure that I do something that I didn't do last week, which is remind everybody that our show picks are typically hardware, software, and other items of interest that we individually purchase, and we actually use and that we like enough that we want to recommend them to you, our growing listener base. These aren't paid advertisements. These aren't items that we have any kind of affiliated marketing relationship with. These are just sincerely things that we enjoy, and we want to bring them to you at the end of each show. Why?
Because
Because
we
we like
like
you.
you.
Thank you. So this
I
week,
love this. A non-tech pick.
a
That's awesome.
completely non-tech pick from
I
me.
like those. Yeah, me too.
A completely non-tech pick for me. So, and I want to explain where this non-tech pick came from first. Yes, or this past beginning of this month has been a big deal for my family. My oldest child, my daughter, was born on March 2nd, and she turned 30 this year. Oh, got me right there. Honest to goodness. And then our middle child, our son Sam, was born on March 1st, 10 years and 364 days after his sister. They're 11 years apart. All right. So the beginning of March is a big birthday time for us. And so we normally we go out to dinner. And this year, my daughter was kind enough to go ahead and take everybody out because dad's looking for a job. So she and Sam got together and decided they wanted to go to um, the Cheesecake Factory. And one of the things that you can get at the Cheesecake Factory is this green mint tea. And it is very, very good. It is very thirst quenching, and it is really very tasty, especially if um if they have a sweetened version, a pre-sweetened version of it. The one that we go to, the Cheesecake Factory that we go to, doesn't serve a sweet version. They serve an unsweet version, but it's still very good unsweet. I went looking for, because my wife was talking about it. Michelle was talking about, this is really very, very good. I really wish that we could have this at the house. Don't want to have to come all the way out here just to have this tea. I went searching for it, and I found a couple of articles, and they say that this particular brand, this Pickwick Herbal Steramount Mint Tea, which is available on Amazon for a package of 20 tea bags for $17. This is the tea. This is what they use, or it's doggone close. So I have ordered this, and it's arriving in a couple of days, and I hope it's close. I hope that it is true, because this is really something that Michelle and I really enjoyed. I think I must have had four glasses of this stuff at dinner yesterday. It was just very, very good. And that's it.
Nice.
Cool. I may try that.
Yeah. So, and that, kids, that's the show. This has been the iTechGear Weekly, episode number 81. It's more than just a pretty face. Recorded live March 10th, 2024, for Dr. Mr. Larry McJunkin, Brother Joe McLaughlin, and our ailing Mr. Chris Gavula. I want to say we will see you next time.